This section of my world has been pretty much neglected. If we just make our way over here, there's a lot of cave holes and just ugly terrain. And then to top it all off, we just have so many creeper holes around here as well. Like this one's a double. So that is why today we are going to be taking on the biggest project on the Better Building world by building up our very own forest in this area. This build is going to give us a lot of atmosphere into the area. Instead of it being just one big giant plains biome, we'll have a little bit more here, especially because the forest that we had over there before we took out to make a giant island. Welcome back to another episode of Better Building, where we have the goal of just every single episode building that little bit better in the game. Where we are dividing this series into chapters, like I've mentioned in previous episodes. In the current chapter we are in, we are working on a bunch of landscaping and terraforming and all that kind of stuff. So that's why building a forest is definitely going to help in that part. And now for a build like this is going to require, one, a lot of wood, a lot of leaves, and also a lot of grass, because I want to fix up this entire terrain because, let's be honest, it looks really bad right now. So really the first main block that we're going to need for this is going to be a lot of grass blocks to be able to make our own canvas that we can use here. So I guess first, let's go ahead and see what we've got in storage for grass blocks. In which, if you didn't see the last episode, we built up this entire town for my storage system, in which this building right here does in fact contain our grass, which it looks like we have about just over a half a chest full, which honestly, this is not going to be nearly enough grass. But you know what? Let's just see how far this grass will take us. And then, we'll see if we have to get some more. All of the grass is now empty, and I have used it to not only fill in the creeper holes that were all the way around here, well, besides that one, I also used it right here to finish off the terraforming that we had here, because if you remember in the last episode, this was only like half done, but now this goes all the way through, and it does cover up the cave that's underneath that we are going to ignore that is not lit up. But then we did still have a little bit of grass left over, so I did use it to kind of start laying out a little bit of the land and just where the hills are going to be. So basically we're going to take this hill and we're going to bring it all the way up to maybe about here-ish before it goes down a little bit. And then I think we're also going to shave a little bit of that off of the top as well. That way we can have this more looking just like a rolling hills type thing. But before we continue over there, I actually want to show what I've been working on inside the house. Now, I haven't been doing any sort of like the interiors here. This area just looks the same. It's mainly down here. So if we come down, we are instantly greeted by all the villagers, which I'm realizing I never actually labeled this one because it's only loading 2. And I think I might get rid of that guy. But anyways, now if we turn around, this area looks much, much different. Starting off, we actually have a bee farm now. Before, I just had a little room set up over here that had a couple bees inside of it. But on a stream, we went ahead and we built up this entire thing here, which actually, I built this all on my own, and I'm very, very impressed with myself. But it has been honestly churning out a bunch of honeycomb just slowly, and this is awesome. On another note, over here, we have ourselves an iron farm. This is the exact same iron farm that I built on season 6 of Autocraft. And it just works so good as a passive iron farm that I decided just to build it up over here since it doesn't take that long anyway. And so far, it's made about a stack of iron. The only other thing that I've done in the area is I have gotten rid of a lot of the torches over here just to kind of help with the lag around the world. I want to make sure that we are just doing the best we can now to mitigate all the lag. That way we don't have to worry about it later. But now I want to continue over here working on our landscape, but I think I'm going to want to grab a beacon so we can clear off this top section as well as that far section over there and make it look a bit better. And now, unfortunately, I only have one beacon with the beacon beam actually turned off. It's actually right here. You can't see it. But I want to pick up this beacon and move it over to the other spot. And then I think I'm going to want to place this beacon maybe about right here. Okay, and then I don't have anything to power this with. Let me go grab something. Here we go. Just set this over to haste 2. And now that we have that, as well as a couple shulker boxes that I have somewhere over here. There they are. Inside of these, I have collected way more grass that we will be able to place down, as well as a bit of moss as well that I want to mix in just kind of on the edges of some blocks. And then I think I'm going to also leave room for us to add one more item into the landscape as well. But first, let's get this landscape going. And here we go. This is basically as far as I can get right now with the current materials that I have. And this looks pretty nice, yet also kind of weird at the same time because there are holes and a random flower that should not be here. Now, there are a couple spots like this one that just looks a little weird. It's not as smooth. And really, I would have it kind of there where this is all filled in and that is all filled in, just so it just kind of gets all smoothed out. However, we're going to be using something different here, which is the first time that I have ever tried it. Let me go grab it. So this item that I'm talking about is actually azalea leaves. So if we put this all in right here, it just gives a little bit of a different texture. And from a distance, it actually looks pretty cool when comparing it to like all the other grass and moss and everything else that's in here, which is why I've just kind of dedicated a couple areas so that we'll be able to fill that in with this azalea. And the only downside, of course, is this is basically all the azalea that I have. I don't have much more. And now, of course, the other thing is, well, this giant kind of pathway of sorts running through the whole thing. If I go into free cam here, it will be much easier to see where it's going. You can see it kind of starts over there and eases its way down here and then comes back out right there. This is going to be for a river. Now, I've never really made a river of this size. Last time I tried was back in season 4 of Autocraft, and to be honest, it didn't really come out looking amazing. So this is going to be kind of my second attempt at doing something like this. You can see already that this section is dug out properly, but this one, of course, there's not actually like ground underneath over here. So that is why there's nothing here yet. And then in addition, I've also added in this pathway that kind of goes through, and we are going to be connecting it up with that pathway right there. So that way the town is actually connected with this forest. Well, what will be a forest. So that means we still have much more work that we need to do until this area is going to be done. But next up on the list is probably going to be getting a couple of the trees in here so we can talk about what types we're going to be having here. But in order to do that, I'm going to need to go grab a couple materials for these because we are going to be using a lot of tough walls, mud walls, or packed mud walls actually is what they're called. And then a mix of different leaves and spruce and all that kind of stuff. So let me go grab a couple things and I'll come back. Okay, so these are the materials that we're going to need. This is basically just some acacia, some azalea, some tufts, acacia logs, jungle logs, some spruce, and then also just some kind of miscellaneous other things as well, including birch leaves. So we're gonna have 3 different types of leaves in these trees, being azalea, acacia, and the birch. Basically, the birch leaves will be our shadows, the acacia leaves will be like the middle ground, and then the azalea will be our highlights. I think I said that right. And then the logs themselves are going to be a mix of tough, acacia, spruce, or really stripped spruce, and also oak logs. Well, I've made the first couple trees here as well. So we've got a huge tree here, a medium with a small one accidentally right next to it. Didn't actually realize that these trees were so close together at the time of building them, but it's fine. And then to make sure you'd actually be able to see one of the smaller trees, I put another one right over here, just so you can get an idea of the types of trees that we'll be putting in here. I would go into insane depth on how these trees work and all that stuff, but to be honest, I have absolutely no idea. I know these are pine trees. That's about it. However, I am realizing with the current material state that we have right now, we're not going to be anywhere close to being able to actually work on this, because just this alone, I had to, well, not only is it a terrible inventory mess, I had to go down to like my shulker monster down there to get materials like 6 times, but it also just is so many different blocks, and some of these might be a little bit of a pain. Like we got some azalea leaves, like I was mentioning before. The leaves honestly aren't bad. All 3 types. I've already got like a shulker of the birch leaves, and those are probably the least amount used, because we're really only using the dark leaves closer to the trunk. But it's also the use of the glass in here as well, which we're using just to shape the tree just a little bit more. So if you look at it from here, you can tell it just kind of slowly eases up about right here. It's going to be a little bit better on this tree because we're using it for much, much longer here. Most of these things, I'm going to have to go out and manually mine all the leaves, all the wood, that kind of stuff I'll have to manually mine. But I'm thinking we can make a couple farms, at least to fix up 2 of our materials here. And that is going to be the glow lichen and the mud. Because not only are we going to need mud for the trees, we're not going to need as much for trees, but we're going to need it mainly for the next part of this river, because we're going to be having the bottom of the river entirely made out of mud. So no matter what, either we are going to have to go out to a mangrove swamp and completely decimate it, or we just go ahead and we make ourselves a mud farm underneath our area over here, because I've been getting a lot of dirt from clearing this out. So we're going to have plenty of dirt to be able to transform into mud. And now I have just gone through and built up both of those farms that I mentioned, and both of the designs are made by the good old El Mango, and they are both honestly quite simple. Basically how this works, this is the mud farm right here. We're going to grab about a half stack of dirt, just kind of throw that in our offhand here, and with a shovel that does not have anything on it, we just sit right here and hold down both mouse buttons, and it will go ahead and make a whole bunch of mud right here, and that will accumulate into the chest. And then over here we have the glow lichen farm. So this guy is actually insanely overpowered. I had the same thing built over on AutoCraft Season 4 actually, and it is really good. Basically, all you have to do is turn the machine on with the lever and then just flop yourself in here and hold down left click. And you can see by that stack in my hotbar, you get so much lichen so quick. Just for me saying that, we have already over 3 stacks of lichen, which is, if I could just get out of here really quick, hold on. There we go. We have already been able to collect, well, a lot of lichen with this already. It won't take long for this thing to work, and all it needs is this machine and a pair of shears that has at least efficiency 2. We have efficiency 4 because that's what our guys are selling over there. So I believe we are now ready to build up all of these trees and really make this area come to life. We will also be terraforming up the river fully and get the mud placed in and the walls fully in and everything. And well, let's just say that it requires much more materials here. We have so many leaves, tough, even a bunch of just walls and slabs. These chests are just full of a bunch of different things, and we are ready to get building here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and make a ton of trees. You know, building these trees up and doing all the terraforming has taken a lot longer than I originally thought that it was going to do. Just with all of my extra time during the day, this took about almost a week for me to completely finish. And even with that, we're not done with this forest yet. There is still plenty more that I want to add. But just now being able to walk around the area and just enjoying the landscape, just seeing all the trees. And if you look in certain directions, you feel really immersed. Of course, if we look in this direction, not only is there a pig, but you can also just about see the town. But coming through, I'm thinking that the next thing that I want to do, which might take a little bit of time, is just to add all of the water into the rivers here. And then after that, we can add in some of the details in the water, just basically a bunch of seagrass. I don't think we're going to be doing anything other than that because I don't want the inside of the river to be the main focus of the forest. Of course, I want it to be all the trees. Easiest thing is to probably just get a bunch of buckets and just fill them with water and get going here. Speaking of, I forgot to show this earlier, but I have now actually gotten myself a zombie horse, which I think looks really cool. And I don't know if we're really going to be using this in a lot of other cases, but if you put just leather horse armor, it does stop it from burning. So this can become a new horse for us, which is pretty cool. So now we have two. So in the comments section, let me know what we should name them. All right, so I'm thinking strategy for this is to start off with the lower areas and then just go through and make everything water sources. And then we will move up to the next layer and then continue. So since this one's done now, we'll come over here and we'll start doing this layer instead. And then just using the good old trick of having water sources everywhere. Hopefully this will work pretty well. Looky, looky over here, we have ourselves a river. I don't think there's anything more that I want to add inside the water here. I did put in some seagrass, but I was thinking about also coral, but I think if we do the coral inside the water, it's just going to take away from the experience. I really want people to be kind of looking around the area, not into the water. Which is why the next part of the building process here is I want to add a build in here for you to go look at. And specifically for a spot, I was thinking this spot right here. It's more in the back of the area with the hill as a backdrop here. But I was thinking this area here. I was originally supposed to put a tree here, actually a couple of trees. But I decided to just leave it bare to go ahead and add like there's a little small cabin in here that whoever is coming through the forest, you know, they could either stay there or it's really just who lives in the forest. Not only do we have a cabin over there, but we also have this bridge right here, which is pretty cool. As well as I have also added another way for the pathway to go here to go up to the cabin. So we'll have a bridge going across here. And then this pathway will bring us across and over to this one over here. But then we are not done with just those two bridges. I have also added one other bridge right up here. It's a very simple one. Like it's a very rickety old type falling apart bridge. So you can kind of see that it's very thin, falling apart, stuff like that. Now I think I want to go through and also just add in some of the ferns and the grass like I do in other spots and just make the area come more alive. Because without this, when it's just the blocks, it looks a little bare. So I think mixing in some of ferns, some grass, and maybe even adding in some additional like just leaves that are spread across the ground, I think will look pretty nice. You know, I think I'm in love. This build may have taken me a lot of time to kind of figure out and really honestly learn a lot more about Axiom with this, but I must say this is looking very, very awesome. I also put in a little bit of dry grass specifically under the trees because I felt like this could work, I think. I don't know the logistics behind that, but It looks cool, so I'm keeping it. Another addition that I have here is all of the leaves that are going to be lining the river. Other than that, though, I would say that this forest is done. At least for now, until I come up with other ideas that I have to put in here, but to be honest, I don't got much. Just now being able to walk around this forest, it just looks so awesome. However, I think there's still one more thing that I want to do before wrapping up, and it's going to be a quick one, don't worry. I want to take this pathway here, which goes up this hill and just kind of curves off towards where the cabin is, and I want to take this chute and just start digging out an area where if we just continuously make it this way, we can link this road up with the starter house. Now with this path done, you may be noticing that we no longer have the wheat field here anymore. And to be honest, I really didn't like it. So that is why I completely tore it out. And we will actually be adding that in a different spot, probably in the next episode. But yeah, I really just didn't like it. I also just connected up the forest here with the pathway at the rocket shop over here. So everything is now fully connected. And with that, I think that is going to have to wrap up this episode. As I mentioned before, this forest is going to be very, very hard to beat, as this is one of my most favorite projects that I have ever worked on. It took a lot of effort actually grinding out the materials for this, especially the acacia leaves, because that was a lot, and building this as well. It is just a project that is so worth it once you see what the outcome looks like. And now before we end off, I just want to grab one more thing, and that is this guy right here. Because I really just wanted to jump into the water right here and be able to ride the boat down, because while I was putting the water in, this is all I was thinking about doing. I just really, really wanted to do this for some reason. And you know what? It's kind of worth it. Yeah, I think this is worth it. But anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a great day or night, whatever it is right now. And I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.